Hi, welcome to my channel, Mostly Knitting. If you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. And if you're new here, I'm Tash, and this is a podcast where I talk mostly about the knitting that I've been doing, and I also put out regular tutorials. So it's Saturday the 6th of September, and I'm recording from Sydney, Australia. I have a really packed episode this week. I have one finished object, a friend from the vault that I'm wearing, a lot of works in progress, 3 new ones, and a lot of progress on my other whips. I also have some acquisitions and an answer to a viewer question about ply, like 4-ply versus sock and 8-ply, DK, that sort of thing, just around naming of different weights of yarn. And then at the end, a little bit of personal stuff. I just have the one finished object for the week, and that is a pair of DK weight socks that I made for my mum. I've already given them to her, so I'll just put a picture of them up there, but I can show you the yarn that I have left. This is yarn that I purchased from Bendigo, and it was the Australian Wool Store, their stand there, and I think that colour is called Letters for Gustav. And yeah, my mum has pretty small feet. She has like a US 7, I think, and so 100 gram skein was enough, but just generally if you're knitting toe-up socks, that's sort of a safe way to go if you split the yarn in two, which I didn't. But I knew because my mum had small feet, I should be fine. But I was weighing them as I went, and I knew I couldn't go past 50 grams. So I didn't really use a pattern. I sort of used my own version of a toe-up sock with a gusset heel, which is sometimes called, this particular method sometimes called a Flegel heel. I've sort of modified Wendy Johnson's, she's got like a fingering weight toe-up socks with a gusset heel. She's got a sport weight one, and then I just modified that for a DK weight. And so it's kind of more like a recipe, which you can then modify for different weights of yarn. I thought that Wendy's patterns were no longer available, and certainly if you go to Ravelry, they're not available on Ravelry anymore. But a viewer messaged me, there is a way to actually access them because they were free patterns. If you go to, and I'll put a link in the show notes, if you go to Wendy Johnson's profile page on Ravelry, there's a link there to her archive. I suppose I could just link the archive. Something like, there's some kind of archive for, because Wendy's no longer designing and so isn't able to provide pattern support and everything, she's taken them down off Ravelry, but you can still get hold of those free patterns. So if you like that kind of style, you could, now I've put it on my Ravelry page as the Cozy Chillin socks by Michelle Higgins, which is sort of the closest that I could find on Ravelry for a DK weight toe up. I didn't actually follow that pattern, but I did kind of reference the like looking at the pattern just in terms of the numbers and the stitch count. And yeah, that seemed to fit my mum fine. I think I got to a final stitch count. And that's a free pattern too, by the way, the Cozy Chillin socks. For my mum's feet, I got to a stitch count of 40 stitches, like a final stitch count for the foot and the leg. And I used a 3.5mm needle, which is, I think with my knitting, because I do knit magic loop when I'm doing socks and I magic loop tighter, that is a pretty tight gauge for me. And yeah, anyway, my mum's happy with them. They fit her and I'm very happy, happy that they're done. So yep, I think that's it. That's my one finished object for the week. My next segment is Friend from the Vault, where I show you a knit that I made earlier, and I'm wearing it. This is the Tea Leaves cardigan by Melissa Labar, and that pattern was put out in October 2009, and I knit this in, I finished it in March 2010. So this is over 15 years old. I knit it out of Madeline Tosh DK in the colorway Time. So yeah, Madeline Tosh has been around for a while. I don't know exactly when she started dyeing, but obviously in 2010. This was one of my favorite colors. It's a really lovely sagey sort of green. I'll just show you nice and close. You can see it's peeling a little bit, but it has held up really well. This was quite a popular pattern back in the day, and I think it has over 2,500 projects on Ravelry. It isn't something that I would choose to knit now. It was very popular at that time to have this sort of 3-button otherwise open cardigan. I'll stand up and show you. I managed to get it out of 4 skeins. You can see it's quite long as well. And look, I didn't alternate skeins. That was before. I think this is maybe even my first time using Madeline Tosh for a jumper. And yeah, I didn't alternate skeins. So that was one. It's not crazy bad. It looks a lot worse on camera than it does in person. Like I didn't even notice it until I'm looking at it on camera here now. But it just had these sort of garter cuffs, this sort of ruching where you kind of doubled your stitches and then reduced again. But yeah, and I really liked these buttons that I got from my local yarn store in Brisbane at the time. And yeah, look, as I pulled it out of, I guess, sorry, that's my son. My son's at home studying. Pulled it out of kind of hibernation. Not hibernation because it's a whip that still needs to be finished, but just like a knit that I don't wear very often. And I thought, oh, I don't have a garment like a finished object garment this week. I'll show one of my older ones. And I'm pretty sure I haven't showed this one before. Yeah, and actually now that I have it on, it's really lovely. It's not really so much my style anymore. Or maybe I don't know. Maybe it was the style at the time, but it's sort of not really now. But you know, things come and go all the time. And there's no way I could see myself unraveling this for the yarn. I feel like I've pulled it out. I would like to start wearing it a little bit more now as a bit of like a throw over in the maybe in the mornings when I get up and I don't like want my full dressing gown, but I just want a little something around my shoulders. Yeah, or maybe I'll wear it out. I don't know. Like what's wrong with it? It's nothing wrong with it, but I guess, you know, if something's not really your style and you have other knitted items that you enjoy more, then you're probably just going to look at it and go, oh, I'll wear you next time. So anyway, it is my my friend from the vault. It is an old friend. I really enjoyed making this. I've got in my Ravelry notes that I love it. So I really loved it. It did get a lot of wear when I first finished it. And yeah, it hasn't had much since. But yeah, it was a really obviously very easy knit. It was top down, you know, back and forth obviously because it's a cardigan. Like I didn't stick it or anything. But yeah, anyway, I'm happy with it I was definitely happy with it as a finished project. I'll report back later maybe if I end up these old finished objects that I pull out from, you know, sort of the boxes that are further at the back underneath the bed, if I actually start wearing them again. Anyway, I'm wearing it today and it's nice and cozy. So this is my friend for the vault, the Tea Leaves Cardigan by Melissa Labar. Moving on to my works in progress, I have 7 knitting whips on the needles. I have 1 crochet whip and 1 weaving whip. So I'll start with the knitting whips. I'll start with this one that I've got on at the moment. So 3 of the 7 are new. This one is the Mindy Sweater Chunky Edition by Sandnes Garn, and the yarn and the pattern were gifted to me by Sandnes Garn as part of a collaboration with Yarniecopia. Now this sweater, I actually only cast this on Tuesday, so this is like 3.5 days worth of knitting. I've actually, you know, it's quite a large gauge. It's a 16 stitch gauge on 5mm needles, and the pattern is written to use Peer Gynt and Tin Silk Mohair held together, but I'm actually holding double Sunday, which I've not used before. I've held Sunday double, but I've not actually knit with double Sunday itself, and that colour is Deep Burgundy. I think that's the translation of it. That's 4372, and I'm holding it with the alpaca folgachu. I don't know if that's how you say that, but the same color. So, and I'm holding 2 strands of this because this is definitely lighter than the Tin Silk Mohair. 50 grams of this is 400 meters. So 1 strand of this and 2 of this. So 3 strands. I seem to be managing that okay. I was a bit unsure about that. I don't know that I've done that before, or not often, 3 strands together. But yeah, it seems to be working. It's not that different from holding 2 together. And now I've made the lighter weight version of the Mindy sweater before at a 23 stitch gauge, and that was, I used Sunday held double. So for that pattern, you could either use, so the lighter version, Sunday held double, or Sunday with single Sunday with Tin Silk Mohair. I chose the Sunday held double. It was a pretty tight gauge at 23 stitches. And this one actually on the 5mm needle is also pretty tight. So I think it's going to, like, it's a fairly, I wouldn't say stiff, but it's structured. And yeah, I love it. I love this color, but it is going really quickly. I did get gauge. I'll show you my swatch. So rather than trying to, because I've got it on needles at the moment, which means if I come too close, I'll clank. So I did a pretty decent swatch, and you can see there's kind of like, it's probably the lace weight alpaca. There's these slightly lighter bits. So I'd say it's definitely not marling, but a bit of heathering. So yeah, really lovely, and it's beautifully soft. So yes, I'm really enjoying this, and it is moving along very quickly. Anything else that I want to say about it? I'm knitting the smallest size. Yeah, other than that, I'm loving it. So it's like an identical construction to the previous one that I did, but where you do you start with the back and do these increases down here, down this line, and then you pick up stitches So you knit the back, pick up stitches, knit down, then join, and then knit the rest, then just joined in the round. You can see these are very deep armholes, but it's meant to be a very oversized sweater. I don't know actually what it's turning out. I'm just trying to think. 16 stitch gauge. I won't do this, I'm a maths teacher, but mental maths is sort of like just multiplying. I do know that I had 80, 84, then cast on 4, so 88. 88 stitches times 2, that's how many stitches I have on the needles. So that is 176 stitches on the needles at a 16 stitch gauge. Oh, I think I can work that out. 160 stitches would be 40 inches, 176 will be 44. I think 44 inches, if I got that right. Sorry if that totally bored you, me just multiplying and dividing in my head, but I think this is going to be 44 inches in the bust, which is 12 inches of positive ease for me, which is 30 centimeters. That's quite a bit of ease, but and it's also going to have, but it's meant to be oversized, right? So this comes down a fair way, like it's a drop shoulder, and yeah, I think this is going to be great. The weather is starting to warm up here in Sydney. It is spring now, and you can see it's a beautiful day. It's sunny, and I think top of 20 degrees, which is more conversion, 68 Fahrenheit. So it is warming up. I don't know how much wear I'll get out of this, but oh, sorry about my dog. It will be winter again soon. I'm sure I'll wear it again next winter. I may have some interruptions because of my dog. We have kids in the street who are riding their bikes down the street, which why wouldn't they? It's Saturday and it's a beautiful day, but our dog thinks that we own the street, so he definitely has to let people know that that he's here and he's the big dog. So there might be some interruptions, having to pause for dog barking. My second new work in progress is a knitted skirt, and it's called the Nova skirt, and it's by Sandnes Garn. I just did a video recently on knit skirt sets, and I mentioned this one. So this pattern is actually in this booklet here, a Sandnes Garn booklet, and the booklet and the yarn were gifted to me by Sandnes Garn as part of that collaboration with Yarniecopia. And I'll talk about Yarniecopia and what's available just at the end of this work in progress, but I'll just share about this first. So I'm knitting the smallest size, which I think is like about a 25-inch waist, I think something like that, or at least to fit that. I think it's going to have a little bit of negative ease around the waist, and I've already got the elastic. I'll show you the yarn first. This is Tin Pier Gint, and the colorway is 2641, and I cast on, did some stockinette, did the purl turning round, did some more stockinette, and then I decided to actually pick up the cast on stitches and knit that down with the live stitches, except for just a little bit of a gap for the elastic. And so what I did was I just knit past, I don't know, about 20 stitches where I didn't join it, and then I started joining, and I started actually, I'll put a picture of how I was doing it up here. I started actually knitting it together with the elastic actually already in it, because I hate that whole threading the elastic through, and I wasn't sure how it would go with a knitted fabric. I did actually use a slightly smaller elastic, so this is a 25mm or 1-inch elastic. I think the pattern talks about a 3 centimeter, or I don't know what that is in inches, but like an extra, but that's actually kind of a hard elastic to get size to get here in Australia. I can get a 25mm and a 32mm, but not so much a 30mm. Anyway, I just thought, and I had this actually at home already, so I thought, well, I'll do it for that. It's, quite stretchy, and so I've kept, that's the sort of 20 stitches that I did not joining it, like I just knit past them, and then the rest of them I've joined there. And then after that, it is a like a broken rib, so 1 round of just knitting and 1 round of 1x1 ribs. So you get to, it's not just all 1x1 rib. But I did find actually that my gauge, I think because these early rows when I was just knitting where I was sort of, the elastic was like right underneath the needles, I think it really messed up my gauge a little bit. So it's quite open right underneath the turn, but it seems to be getting a little bit better down here. But I was worrying about it. I was worried about it a little bit because I definitely didn't want it to shear. So I was chatting with Erica from Yarniecopia, and I was like, I asked her, do you have any alpaca in like the alpaca fogachu, in that sort of a similar color. And she actually did. She had 4 skeins of this one here, which is color 2321. So she sent that to me. Look how close they are. And I thought, this is meant to be. She has 4 balls. That's probably about what I need to make this, because I'm going to make the long skirt. But before, I'm very careful about ripping out. I don't just go crazy and like rip it all out. I used to, but I don't anymore. I thought, no, I'm going to do a little swatch. Because I was also thinking that maybe it was a bit open because just of that little bit where I was knitting on top of the elastic, and it was kind of messing with my gauge a bit. So I swatched, a very tiny swatch, but I was just swatching for gauge. So not gauge, I was swatching for fabric. So on the top half that you can see there, that's just the tin Peer Gynt held by itself. And underneath you can see this was knit with so you can see that there's like, it's more open up here, but it's not crazy open. And this is quite stiff. It doesn't have much movement, whereas this has definitely got a little bit more movement to it. So I have a feeling that even though this just seemed like a match made in heaven, and I think if you wanted to hold these two together for a sweater, this would be like a perfect, like look at that gorgeous, I think that's so pretty, but I think for the skirt it's not going to work. So I'm going to return that alpaca back to Erica, because I think I'm just going to continue with it as it is. So I'm very glad I didn't rip it out. I think it's actually going to be fine, because for a long skirt, like I don't want it to be this big. It would obviously add weight to it. Now I did think, one thing I did think was, I could go up a needle size, but then that's going to make it bigger as well. And then like it'll sort of maybe flare out, mess with my gauge, and I could like change the stitch numbers and whatever. But I actually just think, you know what, it was written for tin Peer Gynt held single. A lot of people have made it with that. I've seen there's quite a few projects on Ravelry, and their skirts all look nice. So I think I'm going to be fine. I'm knitting it on a 3mm needle. I'm pretty sure, whatever the recommended one is. 3mm needle. And so this is going to be, I think, my either like at the moment, while it's not too heavy, either treadmill knitting or TV knitting in the evening, because it's not too heavy at the moment. Yeah, it's probably okay at the moment, but at a certain point, obviously I'm making a long skirt. It's not going to work for that. But yeah, I love, and I think one day I'll make the sweater as well. But for now, just the skirt. But yeah, that would be actually quite nice, those two together for the sweater. There's a thought. Because it is actually a set. So in here, there is a skirt and a sweater as well. So, yep, so that was gifted to me by Sandnes Garn. That's by Sandnes Garn with their yarn. Sorry about the clinking. So Yarniecopia is September. What is it? 6th of September. Yarniecopia is selling Sandnes Garn right now, and they are selling the yarn and quite a number of the booklets in like kits. So you can buy, like if there's, for example, if you wanted to make the skirt, you could purchase the booklet that the skirt is in, so this one, with the yarn to go with it, or anything else that's in this. So I would just check over on Yarniecopia's website to see what kits are up at the moment, and there's the complete range of Sandnes Garn yarn as well. There's just 10 ball minimums for a lot of the yarns. So for the winter kind of yarns, there's a 10 ball minimum. Some of the summer yarns, because obviously people want to make tops and things, like the Lene and the Tin Lene, and the Mandarin, the two different Mandarin Petite and Mandarin Natural, they have 5, and Duo, I think as well, Duo, they have 5 ball minimums. Other than those yarns, it's a 10 ball minimum, or you can purchase in kits. And I believe over the course of the month, because it's quite a process putting up the kits and things on the website, more will be added. So if you aren't already signed up to their newsletter, I would go over and sign up to that, because then you'll hear about when new things go up on the website. So that's, and Yarniecopia is shipping worldwide except for the United States at the moment, unfortunately, and Scandinavia. So other than that, you can order from them in the month of September. So that's it for this particular work in progress, the Nova skirt. And yeah, I'm like, knit dresses and skirts, they're just like secret pajamas. They are so comfortable. So yeah, I'm really this will be a while though, and it will probably be next season by the time I'm actually wearing it. But yeah, I'm enjoying making it. I have one more new work in progress, and that is another version of Dotted Rays by Stephen West. And I'm knitting this out of Madeleine Tosh MCN Fingering in the colourway Nocturne. And I already used this yarn for my Ripple camisole, and I had 2 more skeins, so I already knew that was a plan. I knew I was going to cast on dotted rays, or at least that's what I was going to make out of it, and I decided to cast it on. So this is going to be a gift, and I'll just show you how much. I haven't done very much at the moment, but I'll show you how it's knitting up. It's a really lovely pattern. It's super easy and straightforward. There's a little bit of like paying attention in the beginning. You've got all these sorts of holes, but it's very like, it's a very repetitive pattern. Once you've kind of got it down, you definitely have to pay attention in the beginning, but once you got it down and you understand where these holes are lining up and how it works within the pattern, it's dead easy. I do always put a stitch marker on the right side just because it's garter. It's pretty easy to get confused between the two. And this is my 3rd version of making it, and I'll show you what, now it doesn't matter too much because this is sort of on the end, but I'll just show you my first one. I tried to watch Stephen West's tutorial on the I-cord cast on, and I thought I was doing what he said, but I really wasn't. And so it's not, I mean, this is probably a little bit fluffy. This is one of my favorite shawls to wear. Like, I wear this all the time. This is my first version of dotted rays out of Circus Tonic Handmade, but I want you to see how I've got I don't know if you could see it because of all the fluff, but I've got a couple of lines there. Can you see there's like a line? It's not like a continuous, like on the end, it's an I-cord edge, right? So you can see how it's all, you can see it's very, I don't know if you can tell because of the pilling, but see how it's all sort of smooth, no lines, like nice smooth I-cord edge. But at the very cast on, I've got these like bumps here. It's not continuous, which, you know, kind of bugged me. So I spent a bit of time figuring out what to do because I made Exploration Station and I wanted to get it right for that one, and I was much happier with my version for that, and I ended up doing a tutorial on it. Now, could I remember how to do it? No, but thankfully I made a tutorial on it. So I went back to my own tutorial, and I'll just show you. I've got to grab the needle so you can't clank it, but I'm super proud of how this one's come out. And this one's a gift, so I really wanted this to, not that anyone's going to be inspecting a gift that closely, but I feel really happy with, can you see because that's the star, right? That's the cast on there. See how it's just one continuous line without any, I don't know if that's focusing. See, I'm so proud. Anyway, yes, I was very happy with that. So if you're going to make a shawl or something with an I-cord cast on, and you're struggling to follow Stephen's video, sometimes as well, because he knits continental and I knit with English. And I can knit continental, but I generally knit with a yarn in my right hand. So sometimes it can be kind of hard to sort of see, where's that yarn going and where's he picking up those stitches? I do a provisional cast on. It's only 3 stitches, but I do a provisional cast on, so it's easier to pick up those stitches. So yes, anyway, that hasn't had much progress, but it will. It's a gift, but I've probably got about 8 weeks before I need to gift this, so I'm sure that would be plenty of time to get that done, but I needed to at least get it on the needles, and that's probably going to be my treadmill knitting. It's probably not, like, at the moment the rows aren't long enough that I probably still, that's the other thing too, sorry, one other thing I do, because there's these short rows, the short rows create the hole, so it's not short rows like German short rows, it's just short rows to create wedges. Trying to hold this thing. I put this stitch marker here because quite often, like for this whole section, it will be like on the return row, knit until 6 stitches before the last turn, and you do that like a bunch of times. So what I do is I turn, knit those 6, and then put a marker so that I'm just knitting to the marker, so I don't have to keep counting. So anyway, that's just a little tip for dotted rays. Great, it's a great pattern. That's my 3rd version. And yeah, I really like it. It usually uses about 2 skeins of fingering weight yarn. My next work in progress is the Archer's Sweater by Lene Ricks, and I'm knitting it out of Bendigo Woolen Mills Corriedale. This is the 12 ply in paper bark. It's really lovely, natural colour. And I've made quite a bit of progress on this. I got to sort of the end of a ball on the body, and I'm starting the sleeve now. I'll just show you up nice and close without clanking this lovely detail here. I picked up the stitches and knit up the collar, and one of the things that was, so this cast on, normally you do a backwards loop cast on here, but they recommended a cable cast on, like you do a cable cast on and then turn again, and I just don't like how it's come out. Like, it's sort of a bit holy. I don't know whether that's because this is a substantially smaller needle or it's the cast on. So I'm knitting this on a 5.5mm needle, and it was meant to be a 6, but I went down. The gauge is 15, it's meant to be 15 stitches over 4 inches. I think I'm getting 16, but that's close enough for a very oversized pattern. This was meant to be on a 4mm, but because I went down 6mm to 4mm ribbing that's a big jump. So this was meant to be quite a bit smaller, but I don't know whether it's because of that it's sort of a little bit holy there. So this is on a 3.75. I just thought, well, if I went down one for the body, I'll go down one for the, but I kind of wish I'd done, because it's quite compressed. I sort of wish I'd done it on a 4mm, but I'm not going back. But what I'll probably do is when I weave in the ends, I will just sort of use the yarn and I'll weave it across here to the other side to just sort of close up those holes a little bit. I'm not very happy with that, but I'm not going back and doing the whole thing. It's good enough. But you know, like I can be a bit nitpicky about these things. I can definitely fix it with some yarn and a tapestry needle going across. But you know, in future, I would do a backwards loop cast on, and maybe the 4mm would have been fine. So I'm just working down the sleeve now, and I'm doing it's got a very large sleeve, but it's sort of, you start decreasing quite rapidly. And because it's such a low drop shoulder, it's I'm going to get to the finish of the sleeve pretty quickly. And it's meant to have a split hem, and I think that actually does tie in with the style, because I don't know if you can see it actually comes in quite a bit here. It sort of angles down, so the width here is wider than, like, it actually comes in. There's quite a few decreases in this way, so I think the split hem is quite a nice feature. But I don't really love split hems. And the back being longer than the front, I just don't really like that look. So I think I'll probably, look how deep that armhole is, right? But you know, it's meant to be big and oversized, and that's what everything I'm knitting at the moment seems to be. But yeah, I actually really love it. It's lovely and cozy. It's very sheepy smelling. I think this is the one that my son is like, what's that smell? It's this sweater, but I like it. It's lovely and soft, but it definitely has a sort of a sheepy, sheepy odor, sheepy notes. But yeah, look, I really like it. I think it's a really lovely design, and it will be a great wearable knit. And I actually, because I get such a cold around my neck, this sweater will be perfect for that. So it'll be great for next winter. I've got 2 sweaters on the needles that are this kind of weight. So, but I kind of want to get the Sandnes Garn one finished for September, and then I'll come back to this one. And the reality is probably neither of them are getting knit or worn much this season, although maybe early in the morning they might. So anyway, and they're so fast, like on this gauge, it's moving very, very quickly. It will not take long, but I do want to probably block it midway just to see if there's any growth before I finish up the sleeves. But this is, yeah, I really like it. I think it's a lovely, lovely color. There's some just natural heathering in the yarn, which I think is really nice. And yeah, it's nice and definitely next to skin soft. So that's the Archer sweater by Lene. My next work in progress is the Millie dress by Sandnes Garn, and I'm knitting this out of alpaca silk in this lovely navy colour, and this yarn and the pattern were gifted to me by Sandnes Garn as part of that collaboration with Yarniecopia. So this, since I last recorded, has had a fair bit of progress, but I probably need to stand up to show you. I've knit 4 balls of this, which is 200 meters a ball. It is so lovely and soft. So it's very lightweight and very drapey. I'm using, gosh, what size needle am I using? A 3mm needle. And I'm knitting the extra small size, which is 83 centimeters or 33 inches, which is 1 inch of positive ease for me. So this is for, you can see I blocked it here. You can probably see that line. Where is it? Here, about here. It's blocked up to here. So I've knit quite a bit. That's 4 balls for the extra small size. So I'm getting, I mean, that's just probably only just covering my butt now. So I definitely have more length to go, but I'm going to pause now because I'm at the end of that 4th ball, and I'm going to do the sleeves. And I'm definitely going to make a change to the sleeves. I've already consulted my Knitting from the Top by Barbara Walker and worked out my numbers for picking up stitches around the arms. If anyone's interested in that, I'll do a video of it. I might do the first one myself and then I'll video the second one, but if people would like to see that, that kind of construction of where you, because the way the pattern is written, you pick up the stitches and then you just knit a rectangle out, and it does create kind of like a straight out line, which is probably the one thing that made me pause around the dress. I really liked the dress, but I didn't like for me, I didn't like that shape. I wanted it to be more like a normal sleeve cap. So you just do short rows to create that, which I'm going to do. So that's the next thing that I'm going to do. I will, like, it's just paused on the body right now, where I don't have any yarn hanging off it because I finished the ball. I'll do the sleeves, and then there's also, I think, a bit of a neckline treatment. I'll finish that so that then when I go back to do the rest of the body, it'll be done when it's, you know, when it's bound off. So, but it's so, oh gosh, just the movement of this, it's so lovely and drapey and flowy. Yeah, and it's really lovely and obviously very nice and next to skin soft. That actually, I think that length looks quite good actually. Like, it's not right up under my armpit, but it's not way down here. I think that will be quite good for a little cap sleeve. Yep. So that's the Millie dress by Sandnes Garn. Right, 2 more knitting whips, and they're both just little tops. The first one is the Ripple Bralette / Camisole by Jessie Maed Designs. This is my 3rd version of this. And I'm knitting this out of My Creative Garage Fingering Weight with Stellina. See that pretty sparkle? So it's this lovely pink with little spots and flecks. I've just got stitch markers on the side to count 20 rows. So I think this one's 80, so I'm pretty close to 100 rows. So I'm probably, yeah, pretty close to, not too much more. This version I did the twisted rib on the bottom and then the 3x3 rib. Super stretchy, so it's got a lot of negative ease. I'm knitting the medium size, which is 162 stitches. Yes, so I'll just, because I've already made a couple, I'll put it against my other ones when I'm getting to the point where I think I need to stop. And so at the moment it's pretty mindless. And it's still not too heavy that, like, I can actually knit and walk with this quite fine, but I probably wouldn't want to set off on a long walk with it because then I might overshoot. I'm at the point where I need to kind of work out how many more rows before and then how many minutes does it take for a row. And if I go for an hour walk and it's about 5 minutes a row, I don't want to, so I've probably got, if I go for an hour walk, I don't want any more than 12 rows of knitting. So I just need to check. Yeah, I'm definitely at that point where I need to stop and have a look and go, okay, have I got 12 more rows? Shall I take this on a walk? One more walk, because then I wouldn't walk with it once I'm doing the front cups. So yep, that's on a 3mm needle. I think in the pattern it says a 3.5, but I like it on a 3, and yeah, it's so pretty. So that is coming along. My last knitting work in progress is the Chrysler top by Pernille Larsen, and I'm knitting this out of Knitting for Olive Pure Silk in the colorway Blood Orange. That's all I have left of the first ball. I have a stitch marker just to mark 80 rows. I'm curious, like, this is taking a while. It's also a bit hard on my hands. I'm not prioritizing it, but it still feels like I've actually done a lot of knitting on this for not a whole lot of fabric. This is a 2.5mm needle. I think the pattern says a 3, but I didn't want it to be too open. So yeah, I'm on a 2.5mm needle. That's probably why it's taking so long. It is, you know, a lightweight yarn on 2.5mm needles. I mean, I shouldn't expect that to go quickly, but also it's because every other round is twisted rib or half twisted rib, and then every other round is regular twisted rib. So that is, it takes a while. It's a bit hard on my hands. I can't knit to more than, say, 5 rows on this without going, okay, I need to put this aside now. So I guess it just sort of feels like it's taking a long time because I can't do too much at a time on it. But it's also not a high priority, although the weather is getting warmer here, so I would love to have this for our summer. And look how, it's just such a beautiful, intense, bright color. I love it. So that's it. Anything else I want to say? That's it for my, for my works in progress. I should say that's it for my knitting works in progress. I do have one crochet work in progress, and this is the Tropez sweater by Susanne Müller, and I'm crocheting this out of Bendigo Woolen Mills 4-ply cotton in the colorway Italian Clay, and I finished the back. So that's, I think it's 47 rows, which, yeah, that took me a while. I'm just not a super fast crocheter, I guess. And I still really kind of have to, I definitely have to look. I can't crochet without looking. But yeah, I'm very happy that the back is done. And I promised myself when I finished the back that I would straight away start the front, because the start is a little bit like time consuming and have to pay attention. So, well, for me anyway. And I thought that could be a barrier for me. So better in terms of picking this up again. So better to just get on straight away and cast on the front. So I've cast on the front and done 2 rows, and I've got my little stitch markers for marking where I go in for the first, you know, for the like on the end to make sure I'm going in the right spot. So this is the kind of thing I've sort of discovered as I'm making this, that knitting is my happy place. Crochet is more like a, right, I'm going to do my crochet now, like a job almost, right? Do your 3 rows a day. So I don't see myself switching streams anytime soon. Yeah, but I do love crochet for blankets, and I also really like, I was watching Stephanie from Edible Thoughts Makes, and it wasn't the Jethro, although I think she's made that. It's another sweater, I forget what it's called, but it had like this really nice crochet panel, and then you knit down, so it's like a, you know, a combo of knitting and crochet. It was really sweet. So I could see myself doing that. So I would like to incorporate a bit of crochet here or there, and certainly I like it for blankets. But I think for garments, I'm much more of a knitted garments person, and I'm looking forward to having this finished. Like, I think it will be really lovely, but I don't enjoy the process. Similar to sewing, I really love the sewn item, but it's not a soothing meditative for me like knitting is. It's a, right, I'm sewing today. But when I'm finished and I look at my sewn garment, I'm so proud of myself. So and which I know I will be when I finish this. So I guess that's the kind of the reward of doing something that you find quite challenging, or you have to pay more attention to, or, you know, uses kind of those different, you know, it's not just like, oh, okay, I'm relaxing, knitting. That's kind of like my gentle, happy place. Whereas the other is, yeah, I have to concentrate. Anyway, enough on that. That's my crocheted. I'm not sure how much, because I sort of feel like I've got so many whips. I might prioritize getting a few of the knitted ones down first and then come back to crocheting. Yes, so that's my my Tropez sweater by Susanne Müller. As for my weaving work in progress, I actually haven't done any weaving in the last 2 weeks, but I do plan to. Things are quietening down a little bit at school, so I am hoping to get that in the regular rotation. Similar to crochet, I guess the weaving is something that I kind of have to go, right, I'm going to sit down and do 20 minutes now. I just haven't really had that as a priority, but I should be able to get to that soon. So hopefully by next podcast, I'll have a little bit of weaving progress. Not that you can really tell much. When you see weaving, like, you just sort of roll it, and then like it's still on the loom going to look exactly the same as it did. So maybe I won't talk about the weaving until it's done. I might just mention if I've done any. I've done so much, I've done this many inches, but it's not going to look any different if I put a picture on there. So anyway, that's my weaving that I'm using Wollmeise 100% on a 12.5 DPI. And yeah, but I didn't do any since last podcast. And that's it for my works in progress. Moving on to acquisitions and plans. I don't have any yarn acquisitions this week apart from the alpaca that Erica sent to me for my Nova skirt, but I'll be sending that back because I'm not going to use it. So no yarn for the week, but I do have a couple of patterns that were gifted to me. The first one is the Esther vest, and that was that's by Petite Knit, and that was gifted to me by Natalie. So thank you so much, Natalie. I mentioned this the other week that I plan to make that with this. This is my leftovers from my Ophelia sweater. This is white gum wool in the colorway Natural, the 10-ply version, and I'm pretty sure I have enough left for the Esther vest. Now that vest is knit with a DK weight yarn and a lace weight alpaca on a 20 stitch gauge and a 3.5mm needle, and that's a pretty tight gauge for like a DK and a lace weight alpaca as well. But I do think that when you've got like a textured knit, it often looks better if it's like, you know, a little bit tighter. So that one, so it's a 3.5mm needle for the body and 3mm for the ribbing. It looks really lovely, but when I look at it on the side with Petite Knit wearing it, you can actually, it's got quite deep armholes. So obviously if you're wearing, which is good if you're wearing like a collared shirt or with a blouse, you don't want that sort of pushing up against that. So it would look good with that. But if you were planning to wear it like without anything, like without like a blouse or whatever underneath, whatever camisole you wore underneath, you would definitely see. So that would be fine as long as it, you know, it's something that you want to be visible. So it looks really, really nice. I do like the look of it, not over a collared shirt just by itself, but then I'd have to be thoughtful about what I wore underneath and knowing that was kind of actually like you intend it to be seen. So not an undergarment, I would say. So that's the first pattern that was gifted to me. The other one is the Breath Blouse by Gudrun Fesl, and that was Kirsty who gifted that one to me. That one is so elegant and ethereal. It's beautiful. So that is knit with a silk, 100% silk and a silk mohair blend held together, although there's one version knit that way and then there's another one with a wool silk and a silk mohair, so you could go either way. But I really like the idea of a silk with a silk mohair, so something like Knitting for Olive pure silk with Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair, those two held together. So that one is on a 23 stitch gauge on 25mm needles, and it just uses sort of the eyelets in the shaping. It just looks so beautiful. I think I saw Jonna was making it from Kim and Jonna. So yes, that one's definitely, that was gifted to me by Kirsty, and I don't have yarn for that. I don't have Knitting for Olive silk and a soft silk mohair, but I kind of have my eyes on the lookout for a really nice combination that I think would look pretty in that blouse. And the last pattern that was gifted to me is the Serotto socks by Ali Payne, who is Fiberbound on YouTube. So these socks, I think this pattern is, so this is Ali's pattern herself, and I plan to be making that with some yarn that has been dyed up by Erica and Ailsa from We Are Wool People, and I'll be using that yarn for those socks. So that will be coming up in October, which I'm very excited about. I don't often knit pattern socks, but I really like this pattern, and there'll be like contrasting, you don't have to, but I'm going to do the contrasting heel, cuff and toes. So that was a gifted pattern, and also some upcoming plans as well. The other two patterns I wanted to mention were free patterns that I bought, inverted commas, with a coupon code. The Valentina cardigan and the Daisy pullover, they're both by Claudia Quintanilla. So Claudia's the owner of UKnit Toronto, and if you sign up to their newsletter, quite often they have in their newsletter mentioning like a pattern that's free for a limited time. So if you read that email within the first week or whatever, and you go over to Ravelry, use the code, it shows up as being a purchase pattern, and then you put the code in and it's free. So I got both the Valentina cardigan, was really lovely. It's a 21 stitch gauge using Isia alpaca, which is a 50-50 alpaca merino blend held with silk mohair on 4mm needles. So it just looks like a really nice classic cardigan. And the other one is the Daisy pullover, which is using Sunday and Isia silk mohair, 22 stitch gauge on a 4.5mm needle. That does seem like a small gauge for a 4.5mm needle, so maybe that person's quite a tight knitter. You just never know, right? So you might need to, if you want to make that, you might need to size down for that yarn. But that was, I don't know if it's free anymore, and sometimes I feel bad, like if I mention this pattern that I got and it was free and it's not free anymore. But at least now, if I tell you about it and you sign up to UKnit Toronto, then when these emails come around, you'll see the email and you'll get the pattern for free. Doesn't mean I'm necessarily going to knit it tomorrow, but it's nice to already have it in my library while it was free, so that then if I decide to knit it later, I already have it. So that's it for my acquisitions for the week. Moving on to what has caught my eye. This is just going to be a very brief segment, but I did notice when I was looking at, I don't normally look at a lot of commercial knitwear, but the Susanne pattern, like there's like a new release from Susanne. I've never bought anything from Susanne before, but they look really pretty, and I am tempted. There was a skirt in this collection that looked fantastic, like a check sort of skirt, like a check wool skirt, which just looks so nice, but I think it's sold out in minutes. And that always drives me a bit crazy. I hate not hate, but it's always a bummer when you see something, you're like, oh, I'd love that. And it's like, oh, no, that's gone already. Like, oh, at least with knitwear, we can make it ourselves, right? So anyway, that's not what I was about to talk about. I was going to talk about the Corey jumper, which it was so funny when I saw it. I was like, that's the Amy slipover, or it looks almost identical to the Amy slipover by Sandnes Garn, which I have already made. But I always find it quite amusing when I see ready-to-wear knitwear that looks a lot like a pattern that is either already released or one that comes afterwards or whatever. Anyway, obviously the Amy slipover has been around for a little while. You can actually, if you purchase that Amy slipover is another one that's in a Sandnes Garn booklet, and I made that out of, I think, the Sunday and the alpaca held together, and yeah, I really like that. I love the ties. It's a really lovely design. Anyway, that's what has caught my eye, more just something in the wild as a ready to wear knitwear purchased sweater. there's a lovely pattern that we could make ourselves that's quite similar. I think the neckline's a little bit different, but that's a pretty easy change. Anyway, that's it for what has caught my eye. In this next segment, I'm just going to answer a viewer question regarding plies and weight of yarn. So in Australia and the UK, traditionally we would talk about the weight of yarn in terms of plies. So for example, a 2-ply was a lace weight, 3-ply would be a light fingering, 4-ply would be a fingering weight or a sock weight yarn, 5-ply was sport, 8-ply was DK or double knitting, not to be confused with double knitting the technique, but double knitting as in like 2 strands, the equivalent of 2 4-ply strands held together. Although in saying that, when I hold 2 4-ply together, I find it a bit more like a 10-ply in terms of weight. But anyway, 10-ply would be worsted, not to be confused with the method of spinning. There's worsted spinning, so you can have a worsted spun or a woolen spun, but worsted also often refers to a 10-ply yarn. And then you've got 12-ply, which is like an Aran, and 14-ply and up, which would be a bulky. Now, I think this terminology came from where everything was like a thin ply that was spun, and then the number of plies that were then plied together would create. So you'd have four of these thin plies would make a 4-ply, 8 of them would make a 8-ply. That's not really the case anymore. You can have an 8-ply that does not have 8 plies of yarn. So, for example, here's a DK weight yarn which is plied, and I don't know how many plies it has, but it probably doesn't have 8 plies. How many plies does it have? It has 4 plies. But in terms of like traditionally in Australia and probably the UK as well, that's how we would have described the weight of yarn. Oh, that's an 8-ply. And often that would knit to a certain kind of gauge. So traditionally, an 8-ply yarn would be knit on 4mm needles at a 22 stitch over 10 centimetre gauge. So that kind of has just got a little bit, as more people around the world are knitting and communicating with each other, it can get a bit confusing when one group of people's way of speaking collides with another group of people's way of speaking, and they don't always seem to make sense. So I'll just put a link down below to a little, I don't know if I can actually link to that, it's just like a little Word document. Maybe I'll just put in the description below what I've just mentioned. It's funny how it jumps right from 5-ply to 8-ply. There's nothing really in between, although I have seen 6-ply sock yarn, which is obviously meant to be slightly heavier than sport weight, but anyway, that's kind of where that terminology, I believe, has come from. And yeah, I've got like a bit of a rule of thumb of also the yardage, although the yardage can really vary depending on the way of spinning. So for example, a woolen spun yarn, you can often have like a much loftier yarn with a lot more yardage than a worsted spun yarn. I hope I haven't made that more confusing, but it is a bit tricky when sometimes the same word or the same phrase is used for 2 totally different things, like double knitting, DK. When we say DK for a weight of yarn, that's 8-ply. Double knitting is also a technique where you have 2 layers of, so I guess what you mean depends on what you're actually talking about. If you're talking about DK yarn, people mean an 8-ply. But I don't know that that's necessarily the case all around the world. Certainly Australia and I believe the UK, that's where that came from. So hopefully that answered that question, didn't make it more confusing. So that's just that little segment on answering a question. We've got an extra segment today with my daughter Alex because she has been doing some sewing and knitting. So I'll let her talk about her projects.
So my project I've been knitting is a top. I'm doing the same one as Mum. It is the
Ripple Camisole / Bralette.
Yeah, that one. Mm-hmm. And I've started it off by doing this was a knit through the back and then purl, was it?
Yep.
Yeah. I did that for like 10 rows, and now I'm just doing knit 3, purl 3, all up. And you can talk about the needle sizes.
Okay, so Alex started, we're both making the size medium. Alex she started with a 2.75mm and is now on a 3.25mm. And the yarn is half-baked hand-dyed. I'm pretty sure that's the undyed colourway. And I reckon you're probably about, well, actually, I was going to say halfway, but you might want it a bit shorter than me, or, yeah, maybe. Where do you want it to sit? Where do you want it to finish, do you think? Like around your belly button?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So you probably don't have too much more to go. So that's Alex's first knitting project in quite a while.
Since I was like 10.
Yeah, really that long. Yes. Just such a, I'll show you. It hasn't been blocked. Really lovely even stitches. And has it come back to you okay?
Yeah, I'm kind of a natural at everything. So, yeah.
Yeah, but we'll get onto your sewing now.
Yeah, so this is my Kelly bag from Babylon Leather. They sent it out to me and Mum. This is my third bag that I've completed. And yeah, that's some of the things on it. It's pretty cool.
You want to open it up?
Yeah, I'm getting it.
Okay, sorry.
Oh, it's hard with my nails. They're a bit long.
Nice nails.
Yep. So it's open, and then I pull it like that, and there's like
That's
little...
such a nice colour on the inside.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. And there's little stringy things which I could tighten the bag, which I thought was pretty cool. And then there's an inside pocket in there. And yeah.
Nice.
I sewed the handle, this bit all around the edges sewn together, around the bottom. Sewed this little thingy on.
Yeah, there's quite a bit to it, but
Sewed the handles. Not the handles, the side straps.
Oh yeah, I have that on my bag too. Those little things.
Yeah.
Yes. So Alex has done three for three. I'm still on my first bag.
Loser. What?
Thanks for that. But I have actually picked it up again this afternoon because I got stalled for a while. I'd done everything except the base, but I've actually just started sewing the base on now, and it's actually going a lot quicker than I thought because it's through 4. So I was admiring my handiwork. So that's like the outside of it, but you sew it like from the wrong side, I guess. But it's going through 4 layers and piping and everything, so it is a little bit fiddly. But yeah, like it's quick at like anything, you know. Sometimes you just have it sit for a while and then
you just don't pick it up because it's like it's worse in your head than what it actually is.
Exactly. Mentally, I've been looking at the base of that going, oh, that's going to be so tricky. And then like I've done that just in like, I don't know, an hour. And yes, okay, that does mean, and it took a while though because it's a little bit awkward, but I'm moving faster now. So yeah, I'm excited to finally finish it. So I reckon I should hopefully have that done in the next, I don't know, hopefully a couple of weeks. So yep, so I think that's it. What do you already have something planned for your next project after this one? Next knitted project? Do you want to make a jumper or anything?
I'm going to make a bathrobe.
Bathrobe.
A fully knitted foot length bathrobe.
I think there are better things to knit than that, but yes, I don't know. We'll see. We'll have a chat about that. I don't know the amount of how heavy that a knitted bathrobe would be. That might be a little bit much. All right. Anyway, that's our little extra segment with our special guest Alex. So Babylon Leather sent these kits to us to make, and it has taken me a long time to make mine, mainly because I've been prioritising other things and mentally making it bigger than it is. But you can see Alex has finished 3 in a very short space of time. So yeah, they're great bags. We're really happy. The one that Alex uses for work, you use every day, don't you?
Yeah, and I went out the other night and I took my black crossbody bag.
Oh, you did? You took theirs, so that was the second one that you made. Yeah, so she's getting use out of them all the time. And I will use mine once I actually finish it. So Babylon Leather has they have 20% off your first order at the moment on their website, but also there's a link in the description below, and you can use the code, I think it's mostly knitting 10, but I'll put it down below and you'll get an extra 10% off your order. And that's an affiliate link, so I would get a small portion of the proceeds if you use it. So if you do, thank you so much for supporting the channel in that way. Yeah, and they're great bags, so I think it'd be, you'd have fun making one. If you like hand stitching, and if you actually do it, it doesn't take that long. It's just, you got to actually sit down and do it. So, yeah. And yes.
Dad, say hi.
Hi, I'm making mine too.
Yeah, Paul's sewing his bag down on the couch. He wasn't quite sure about being up here for the podcast, but we've both got back onto ours because we'd left them for a little while. So, yeah, they're lots of fun. Right, that's it for the knitting content. So if you are leaving me now, I really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for watching, and if you could like and subscribe, that way you'll get notified if I, whenever I put out a new podcast. And I'm just going to do, actually this personal stuff might be a little bit longer because there's a few things in here actually. It's been a little while since I recorded. I normally record on Thursdays, but I was really not feeling well on Thursday and Friday actually, although I did go to work, but I just was really bad neck and headache, and I definitely wasn't up for recording. But I'm feeling much better today. This morning I actually had my Knitters Guild group, the Southern group in New South Wales, and yeah, that was really lovely. I really enjoy spending time with the women there. I actually also went to the art gallery for the Hazelhurst Art Gallery for the Gut Feelings exhibition, which had a lot of really great knitted items that a number of people from my guild had knit for that. I'll put some pictures up at the end if you want to see some of those. It's just all about sort of like with knitted items, talking about your gut flora and all different. Anyway, it was just very cute. And we had lunch there, which was really lovely. The place had really changed though. It was much more fancy than I remember. But it was lovely. So I had that. I had Knitters Guild this morning. I taught at Skein Sisters last weekend, like last Saturday, and that was so lovely. I had 2 classes. It's a very tiring day when I teach there. I had 2 3-hour classes, so 6 hours of teaching, but it's very rewarding. So I had a class on next steps in knitting, so just sort of improving your different techniques and things, and then one on finishing techniques. And actually there was a lady there now, and I'm just blanking on your name, I'm so sorry. She had done a field sweater out of the BC Garn Loch Lomond in this gorgeous pink colour, and I'll put a picture. She said I could take a photo. And it just looked fabulous on her. So yeah, it's just really lovely to be able to see someone in person with a sweater that they've made, and able to say, oh, your tutorials helped me for that, and the classes as well. So yeah, so that was really lovely. I've been so busy at work, oh my goodness. I got my reports done, but it's just been massive with Year 12 lately. Things are just starting to calm down a little bit now, which I'm really glad about. That's probably where all of the tension and headaches had come from, because I was just non-stop working. Like when I wrote reports on Sunday or whatever, yeah, that's right. So Saturday I taught at the yarn store all day. Sunday I spent all day, like over 8 hours writing reports. So that was, then, you got to front up for another week of work. I was tired. So it's probably not surprising I wasn't feeling great by Thursday. So anyway, feeling better now, much better now. Oh, and I wanted to mention as well, it's Father's Day here tomorrow. I don't know if you've been watching for a little while. I mentioned that I bought something for I can't say what it was, because he might hear, something for my husband for Father's Day. And then I hid it so well, I couldn't find it. I found it. I did a big tidy up of my craft room. So that was a plus. I actually tidied up my craft room. So that was a bonus for me. And I managed to find the gift. So just in case he can hear me, I'm not going to say what it is. But if you've been watching before, you know what it is. Actually, I'll put a picture of it up on the screen. That's what I got for him. So that's tomorrow. Other than that, I think there's only 3 weeks left of school. But it's not, the 2 weeks of holidays is not going to be much of a holidays for my son. He'll be studying heavily for his HSC. But some big changes that are happening for me in my personal stuff coming up. I had planned to go to the Mayak retreat in April 2026 with Sari Nordland. And I was going to tie that together with visiting friends in Germany and the UK and Czech Republic. But my friend in Germany is really not great, and she's in a wheelchair, and she's had a really bad diagnosis, and I really want to get over and see her sooner rather than later. So I've actually cancelled going to that Mayak retreat. They were really great about it, and they're refunding. I'm just waiting on the refund to come through. It's been about a week, so I guess those sorts of things, I'm just hoping that all goes through okay on my credit card, because that's a pretty substantial, because you pay 50% to start with, but I've well within the window for cancelling, and hopefully I will get to do another one day. Hopefully not too long away, but I just decided to go sooner rather than later. So my son finishes his last exam on the 27th of October, and I'm flying out on Tuesday the 28th of October. So I'm going to London to see a friend, spend about a week in London. Then I'm going to go to Budapest and Vienna, which they're cities I've never been to before, so I'm excited about that. And then go across to my friend in the Czech Republic to visit him and his family in Český Krumlov, spend a few days there. Then across to Cologne to see my friend in Germany, spend about a week there, and then a few days in Paris, and then fly home. and I'm so excited. My friend who lives in London, I haven't seen probably in over a decade. My friend in Germany, I haven't seen since, I don't know, maybe 2022, like just post-COVID, and similar for my friend in Český Krumlov. And I've never been to that town before. I've been to Prague before, but I've never been to Český Krumlov. So just lots of new places to go, and old friends to see. They're all friends that I've been close to for... my friend in Germany was in my... you know when you go to antenatal classes before you have a baby? So we met in the antenatal classes for our eldest, and our daughters were born on the same day. Her daughter and my elder daughter, were both born on Boxing Day on the 26th of December. So, which is just quite, I don't know, it's quite sweet. And we were in like a mother's group together. So we've been friends for years. My friend Libby in London, we were in boarding school together. So that's decades ago now. And my friend Sam in Český Krumlov, we worked together when I think I was maybe 19. So, you know, these are old friends that I'm really, really looking forward to seeing, and seeing their families and spending time with them. So I just... Yeah, and actually Demi, my friend Eva, her daughter Demi is in Germany as well, so I'll get to see her as well. She's the one who's the same age as my daughter Mia. So yeah, I can't tell you. And it's so soon. I'm going in like 7 weeks. So really, really looking forward to that. I've booked the flights, I've booked the rail journeys, now just to book the accommodation. But I feel like booking the flights and the rail journeys were the big thing. And then, then it's all the other stuff that... accommodation, the eSIM, the this, that and the other, the getting everything organised. But yeah, couldn't be happier. But a bit of work between now and then. But yeah, I'm so glad that it's so soon too. Anyway, that's enough for my personal stuff. Oh, actually one other thing that is actually yarn related. There's Fibre Fest in Wyong on Sunday, I think it's the 28th of September. So I'm teaching last class at Skein Sisters, like for the year, on Saturday the 27th. I've got 2 classes then. I've got short rows and fair isle. I love those classes. I love teaching fair isle knitting. Short rows is so empowering because it just means you can change things up. It's so wonderful to have that skill set. And then fair isle, like it's just like the world's your oyster with painting, like with your yarn and colours. So that's my last classes on Saturday the 27th of September, and then Sunday the 28th of September going up to Wyong, which is sort of north of Sydney, catching the train with my Knitters Guild group and going to Fibre Fest. And Ailsa from We Are Wool People, apparently she organises the fashion show there. There's like yarn like stores and wood turners and all, like a big crafty market. And having the train journey. I love trains. Having the train journey with my Knitters Guild group. And so that's going to be a busy weekend, but a very exciting one. So that's probably it for my personal stuff. This is the longest personal stuff I've done in forever. So anyway, whatever. You don't have to be listening if you don't want to, I guess. But anyway, very, very happy, very excited about some great things coming up. And anyway, back to my knitting, I guess. And I'll see you in the next podcast.